When you see the question, try to answer it with the memory that you have. Try to answer it with the understanding that you have. But do not try to prioritize your guesswork at the first level itself. I know it's difficult to remember all the 94, but Ramsar sites is one of the recurrently asked questions. If you do not take the guess, your opponent will, your competitor will. So this is how we need to deduce and try to maximize our marks. Vishnu, Prayag, confluence of rivers, these are directly memory sort of things given in your NCERT, so you can manage this. If you do not know where a upper triangle lies, then it is suggested that you skip this question. And this guesswork thing will evolve as we go ahead. In the first few test discussion, I do not want to discuss more of guesswork, because if I focus upon that, then aspirants might try to avoid studying or understand the concept. Rather, they would like to choose a shortcut to go for more guess. Normally, whenever we are doing agriculture in general, it is said to do less tilling or minimum tilling, because when we do deep tilling, there is more chances that the soil erosion could happen. The local winds is an important topic. I have marked this in orange so that you go through these facts and you make a note of it. Local winds, so what kind of wind is found in which region? They can ask in match the following form, or they can give statements. They might give it as cold wind, warm wind. So if we are aware of it, we can easily get the answer. UPSC has asked in PYQs many times with regard to lake that are under threat. Again, with reference to Mediterranean climate is a very important part of the syllabus. You need to know when the rains happen, what are the crops grown there. With reference to green hydrogen, like I said, overall the paper is static. There are around close to 90 questions which have been asked from geography static part, and there are around 8 to 10 current affairs questions. Hello everyone, my name is Shreyas. I shall be handling the discussion video for the geography plus current affairs associated test. This is the test 1. A brief intro about myself. Like I said, my name is Shreyas. I have cleared 4 consecutive prelims in the year 2022, 23, 24 and 25. So in this video, one thing I will be discussing the test. Other thing, there are certain areas where I want you to add the content, add the extra content that you get from this paper, and there are certain areas, certain questions wherein there is scope for guesswork. So I will be speaking about that as we proceed. So before we start the test discussion, I want to give my views over this paper. In this geography test paper, the paper is mostly static. The questions are taken from the routine books. So in this paper, in the 100 questions, there are around 10 current affairs questions. Other than that, in the 90 questions, most of them are from static part, say close to 70 questions. So other than that, there are certain questions where they are testing your understanding of the concept. So as we proceed, we will look into each of these questions. I have divided this paper into 3 levels. So the first level is simple questions, easy questions, the one which you should get it right if you want to score good marks. So I have highlighted those questions with green ink. The second is I have highlighted certain questions with orange ink. These are the concepts, or these are the things which are not covered in routine books. So you may not be aware, but these are the ideas, these are the facts which are very important. So I want you to remember these facts because they are associated with a very important concept which has been recurrently asked in PYQs. Other thing is I have highlighted certain questions with purple ink. From distant you might see it as black also since it's dark. So these questions, there is certain scope to make guesswork. So we shall be discussing each of this. I'll tell what are the hints in these questions, how you could have made the guesswork, and we'll look into it as we proceed on. So let us begin the session. So like I said, there are certain questions which I have highlighted in green ink. So these are level 1 questions. You should be able to easily answer them. If you are not able to answer them, it's fine. There is still time. You can go home, you can revise, you can get your concepts stronger, because these are simple questions. If UPSC asks 6 or 8 questions from geography, then these are the 3 to 4 easy questions which you have to get it right, because the rest 3 or 4 will be difficult. So the question over different seasons, the question as to how the temperature and the altitude will vary, the air pressure, how the air pressure changes with the reduction or the increase in depth, or how it changes with the altitude. These are the facts, these are the basics which you need to get from your NCERTs. Like I said, this session will not be dedicated to discussing each and every question, because if I do that, it will take a lot of time, and many of you may feel you are investing a lot of time into this test discussion. So rather than that, there are certain questions, or the level 2 or level 3 questions are the ones I will be discussing. Similarly, third question, alluvial soil, North Indian plains, how it is fertile, what are the different composition, all these things you need to know, because these are from basic NCERTs. When we are giving this test, there is also another thing that we need to note. See from which topic are the questions being asked. Soil is a very important component. UPSC has recurrently asked in PYQs about the soil topic. Similarly, about the revolution or the rotation of the earth and relating it to other concepts. So these are areas which we need to be very thorough with. So now is question number 4th. Like I said, purple ink means there is some sort of trick, or there is scope to make some guesswork. So in this question, what is that, we'll see. Consider the following currents. So there are 3 currents given. How many of the above currents form the Sargasso Sea? For someone who knows where Sargasso Sea is, maybe they can attempt the question easily, but for someone who doesn't know where Sargasso Sea is, what we know from NCERT is, we know that there is a table given, there is a box given for currents and their places as to where they flow. So Canary Current, Gulf Stream, you know that these flow in Atlantic Ocean. If you have to draw roughly, then this shall be North America, this shall be South America, then there is Africa around here. So you know Gulf Stream flows like this, and Canary Current is also nearby. So you see that both these are very closely related, and even North Atlantic Current, as the name itself tells, since this is the Atlantic Ocean, North Atlantic will somewhere be here. So you can make a guess that it is somewhere here. So you see that all the 3 currents are in a very closely related region. So if you have to make a guesswork without knowing where the Sargasso Sea is in the actual paper when you are attempting, then you could have gone for either all 3, or you could have gone for none. If you think that Sargasso Sea is somewhere here in this region, you could have gone for all 3. Or if you think, or if you take a guess that Sargasso Sea is not in this region, then you could have gone for none. So these are the 2 options which you could have taken a guess, 50-50 chance of getting it correct. So the actual answer is all 3, because Sargasso Sea is in this region. And another thing which I want to highlight before we proceed on with such guesswork, always your first option should be to get the concept correct. When you see the question, try to answer it with the memory that you have. Try to answer it with the understanding that you have. Only in case where you do not know the concept, where you do not know the answer to the question, only then you take the guesswork. So guesswork always comes after you do not know how to attempt the question. But do not try to prioritize your guesswork at the first level itself. First, you try to attempt it with your knowledge, with your understanding. Only if you do not have the understanding or knowledge of the question, then you can take guesswork, that too when you have attempted very less number of questions. Wetlands in news, location. One thing that I would like to highlight here is, see, this is purely memory thing. You need to know where the wetlands are, where the location are. Currently there are 94 wetlands which are keeping on increasing due to man related activities, that they need more conservation efforts, and they have been added to the Ramsar list. So I know it's difficult to remember all the 94, but Ramsar sites is one of the recurrently asked questions. Wildlife sanctuaries, there are more than hundreds. There is close to 500. National parks, there are more than 100. When it's wildlife sanctuary or national park, even if you remember the important ones, then it is enough. But when it comes to Ramsar sites, my personal suggestion is that you try to remember all 94, because it has been asked in 2022. It has been asked again every 2 or 3 years. They give such match the following questions and ask you to match it. These are pocket marks which you cannot afford to miss. So in this question, if you have to take a guesswork, or if you are forced to attempt the question, then what you could have thought of. Look at the names: Sirpur, Pala, Shalbag, Suchindram. So you might have heard of Pala Kingdom. You know that Pala Kingdom will somewhere come towards the northeastern region. So it could be West Bengal or it could be northeastern states. Let's see others. Suchindram Therur. If you look at the name, you can easily understand that this is not a North Indian name. It is Suchindram. So even North Indians or South Indians, they can easily guess that this is somewhere that Tamil Nadu region. So if you knew Suchindram Therur wetland as Tamil Nadu, then you would have included 4 in your option. So when there is 4, 1 also is there. So you will have to take a guess between 50-50 in case you do not know the answer. So this is how you can reduce, and whenever you deduce the options to 50-50, you have to take option, you have to take a guess, because your chances of getting the questions are 50%. If there are 10 questions and if you take 50-50, if you get 5 questions correct and if you get 5 questions wrong, still you will get good marks, positive 10 and minus 0.66 into 5, which is closely 3 point something marks. So you will still have that 6.8 or 7 marks lead. If you do not take the guess, your opponent will, your competitor will. So this is how we need to deduce and try to maximize our marks. Moving forward, why is the Darien Gap region known for its geographical significance? Like I said, again it's a purple ink. I'll try to look for some guesswork which is possible here. Why is the Darien Gap region known for its geographical significance? Suppose we do not know where Darien Gap is, but what do we read here? It is a gap. What do we understand from gap? One thing, it is the narrowest point, it is a dense rainforest, it is a bridge connecting North and South America, it's famous for ancient pyramids. So if Darien Gap is like some region, then this could be one of the possible option. But when we speak of gap, what comes to our mind? Gap could be something like a downhill region, that there is a certain piece of land here and here and there is gap here, or the gap could also mean that there is 2 bodies which are being separated by a small gap, like the gap like isthmus. So in this case we could have eliminated options like Darien Gap is narrowest point, gap is not a point. So we could have eliminated this. Darien Gap and dense rainforest do not seem familiar. So it serves as a natural bridge connecting North and South America, like we thought here that a gap could connect these 2 regions, or it's famous for ancient pyramids and archaeological sites. Pyramids, archaeological sites, that too of ancient time, it doesn't look that suited to the answer. So in this case we could have taken the guess of natural bridge. This is how you could have deduced the answer, by eliminating the less relevant 2 or 3 options. And remember this Darien Gap, suppose even if you have to crack the question, you can think of other gaps like Malda Gap, that Malda Gap separates 2 regions by creating a depression sort of thing. So you could have come to the option like this. What are some of the characteristics of summer solstice? Summer solstice, winter solstice, what are these? On what date does it happen? When summer solstice is happening, what is the state of Tropic of Cancer? Where is the sun with relation to Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn? So during summer solstice, North Pole, is it towards the sun, is it away from the sun? These are concepts which you need to be clear about. And these are level 1 questions, because these are basics. They could try to twist a little bit, but when you are strong with these concepts, you could eliminate the wrong options. Similarly here, Vishnu Prayag, confluence of rivers, these are directly memory sort of things given in your NCERT, so you can manage this. Like I said, when I am adding a orange ink, it means that I want you to remember this concept, because this is not given in your NCERTs or standard books. Black soil is known to swell when wet and shrink during dry periods. We know this fact. What clay mineral is primarily responsible? What clay mineral is primarily responsible for this behavior in black soil? So we have not come across these minerals. So if you do not know the answer to this question, then this is a question that needs to be skipped. but I want you to make a note of this, because this is the chief mineral which is responsible for the property of black soil. This is a clay mineral, and what does it do? It absorbs water when it is during the wet season, and during the dry season it develops cracks. The same property which the black soil is because of this mineral within it. I am asking you to remember this because soil is a very recurrent topic, like I said, and UPSC, when it runs out of the questions that it has asked, it will try to bring in a new fact over an important concept which it has already asked about. So that is why this becomes important. Similarly, Coriolis force, how Coriolis force varies with the latitude, that it is 0 at the equator, its maximum at the poles. Coriolis force, how it affects the wind velocity, wind speed, how it is being affected. These are things which you know. But in this question, one thing which I would like to highlight is aspirants. I feel that aspirants could have made a mistake here. The magnitude of Coriolis force is directly proportional to the latitude angle. This is correct, but the trap lies here. Coriolis force affects wind speed and wind direction. Actually, the reverse is true. More the wind speed, more will be the Coriolis deflection. But Coriolis force do not affects the wind velocity or wind speed. Coriolis force only causes deflection, right side deflection in northern hemisphere or clockwise deflection, and it causes the winds to deflect towards the left in southern hemisphere. This is what Coriolis force does. So Coriolis force affects the wind direction and not the wind speed. So one of the things given here is correct while one is wrong. But when we are attempting in flow during the actual exam, we tend to overlook these facts. In the moment of wind, the Coriolis force acts parallel to the direction of pressure. We know that it acts perpendicular. So these are basic facts. All these things are in NCERT, but this one thing was asked to confuse the candidates. Similarly, in this question we see a term blue ocean event. Here I have marked both purple and orange. I have marked it as orange because I want you to remember blue ocean event. It is a very important event, and we recurrently, if there is a question over a given topic which I will tell later, you can mention these terms that this thing has been happening. So blue ocean event, you can bring these terms in your mains answer. So that is why I want you to remember, and this word or this term has been in news since past 2-3 years. I have also marked purple because there is a little bit of guesswork, scope for guesswork here. The term blue ocean event, like I said, there are many things that a name can say. We know that it's blue ocean, so it is referring to a water body, and it is saying event. When we understand of event, events are some things which happen occasionally. When it happens, it does not happen over a very long duration, or it doesn't take too much time to happen. So in this perspective, let us look at the options. Sustainable use of ocean resources. So ocean is there, sustainable use is there. Okay, possible. Let's see later. Arctic Ocean imagined to be ice free by 2030. Okay, here also they are referring to the ocean. Let's see other. Northern lights seen from the coast of Atlantic Ocean. See, northern lights seen from the coast of Atlantic Ocean, you can see northern lights every year. There's nothing special about it because it's you can see it over any period of time. So you could have eliminated this option. Like I said, event, it happens once in a lifetime, or it happens very, very occasionally. And this event sort of thing, it is something related to natural phenomena, mostly. Mapping of nearly 1/5 of world's ocean floor by 2030. Okay, event, like I said, it is something geological or geomorphological, such sort of thing. So mapping is what will be done by the people. So this doesn't fit in there. So among these two options, if you have to choose, sustainable use of ocean resources. This is not an event. Sustainable use is a process, and we need to carry on that process for years together to achieve a sustainable living. Event is some sort of thing which has happened in that moment. and which is very occasional. So Arctic Ocean could melt or get ice free by 2030. This is the answer. So in this way you could have arrived at the answer. Many of the guessworks that I might tell might look very alien to you at the beginning, but as we proceed, I guarantee you that you'll get used to these things. And since this is a geography paper, the statements, the traps in the statements are very limited, because this is a more conceptual sort of subject. If there is polity, if there is modern history, there could have been facts that were being made wrong, or in polity, president or prime minister terms could have been replaced. There would have been more traps. But here, since like I said, the subject is more conceptual, there is less scope to make guesswork in many of the questions. Next one, Pampas, Campos, Cerrado, Savanna, Prairies, Uzdas. This is another important topic that I want you to remember, grasslands. So which grassland is in which region? This is part of the basic which you need to know. So Pustas is in Hungary, Prairies North America, Pampas South America, Campos South America. But this is a new term, Cerrado Savanna. I want you to add this term to your notes or to highlight it within your question paper and write about it, because Cerrado Savanna is a tropical savanna and it is very rich in biodiversity. Since it is very rich in biodiversity, the chances that UPSC could ask in one of the exams becomes high. So Cerrado Savanna has nearly 5% of global biodiversity. So this becomes important. And Cerrado Savanna is in South America region. Even this. Usually when we speak of savanna, we might think of Africa. But Cerrado Savanna is in South America. Rather than that, they usually call it as Cerrado, that's all. Cerrado grasslands or Cerrado. So if they had given only Cerrado, we might have thought that South America could be possible. But we might get confused, since savanna is given, we might just ignore the first word and go only with savanna, thinking that it is in Africa. Then we might get this question wrong. So this is something I want you to remember and add it to your notes. Similarly, rip currents. So rip currents as such has not been covered in a NCERT. So this might be a new concept. Since it is a new concept, and if you are attending the test, you just look at the options. They are powerful narrow channels of water that flow away from the shore. One thing is away from the shore. They occur most commonly on beaches and can be extremely dangerous for swimmers. Suppose you do not know about this rip current. If you know about rip currents, you will be able to answer it very easily. Suppose you are not aware of rip currents, what could have been done? They are powerful, okay, currents, possible that it's powerful. Narrow channels of water, okay, that flows away from the shore. Now this thing we are not aware, either it could be away, it could be towards. In case we do not know about rip currents, this is the case when I am telling. They occur most commonly on beaches. Since it's current, there is chance, good scope that it will occur on beaches and can be extremely dangerous for swimmer. So any current that is there will usually be dangerous for swimmer. So we could have assumed, we could have deduced that 2 is correct. Since 2 is correct, then either it will be away from the shore or it could be towards the shore, in case we do not know about rip currents. So we could have deduced the options to 50-50 and then we could have taken a guess. This is the case when you do not know to answer about rip currents. Now I'll explain rip current in brief, so that, because rip current, I feel it's an important topic because it recurrently happens in beach sort of places everywhere, including Karnataka. So what is this rip current? Suppose this is the land mass, this is the continental shelf. We know that water, sea water, comes towards the shore and then it returns. This is the normal case. But there are certain cases where what happens, if this is the landmass, then the waves come in this sort of pattern. And when this happens, you see that this part and the waves here, there is a difference. Usually if the waves if they are coming in this sort of manner, they will return together. But in certain cases, the extent that it is moving towards the land will not be same. There will be certain areas where the water is moving more towards the land and certain area where it will be moving behind. So when such cases happen, the area where the water is above, it will try to move into this area. Let me draw it once again. So these waves will move into these areas. So here there will be a path created where it is very powerful. These are rip currents. So they move into this sort of pattern. So these areas are very strong currents, and if you are swimming in this area, then it becomes very difficult because the currents will pull you towards the shore, and it can take you to almost more than a kilometer with that force. So for someone who has been trapped in rip current, I'll give another fact. If someone is been trapped in this rip current, then he should not try to swim in this path. Rather, he should try to swim out of this path so that he gets into the safe zone. What are the ideal conditions? What are the ideal conditions for the formation of dew? This has been directly covered under NCERT, so I will not be discussing it. Polar stratospheric clouds, how they are formed, how it leads to ozone depletion, what are the compounds which can trigger its formation. So these are basics. Okay, here is another important concept, westerlies. Westerlies are strongest in winter when pressure over the pole is low, and weakest in summer when the polar high creates stronger polar easterlies. Prevailing winds in the doldrums are usually very strong because of the pressure. Now this might be a new word for you, doldrums. Doldrums refers to the region which is around ITCZ, Intertropical Convergence Zone. You might have seen the pressure belts in your NCERT. So you know that if this is the equator, then if this is the equator, then this is the Intertropical Convergence Zone. So prevailing winds in the doldrums are usually very strong because of the low pressure. The winds in the equator region, they are very calm. So they are very strong. This thing becomes wrong. Westerlies are strongest in the winter. A couple of facts to be remembered. Westerlies flows from west to east. You are aware of it, and it flows in the subtropical region or the temperate region. And another thing is, westerlies are strong in winter. One is this condition, and they are strong when a low pressure region is available in the poles. So these are a couple of things which you need to remember about westerlies to solve this question. And like I said, these concepts are very conceptual. There is very less scope for guesswork here. Which of the following best describes the Messinian event? If at all you do not know what is Messinian event, then it is good that you skip this question. Messinian event is a new term. Most of the people will not be aware of it. And if you are not aware of it, one thing is you can skip if you are someone who wants more accuracy in your paper, or if you are someone who wants to take a guess, or if you attended less questions and if you want to take a guess, then let's see how we could have solved. Which of the following describes the Messinian event? When we discussed about blue ocean event, I said you one thing, that events do not occur very frequently. They occur very occasionally, like once or twice in a lifetime. So let us see what are the possible things. Messinian event. It is a flood. Okay. It is an event that will lead for drying up of Mediterranean Sea. Okay. The migration of Homo sapiens out of Africa. A volcanic eruption in Aegean region. See, what are the options that we could have eliminated? One is volcanic eruption. So it could happen again and again. A flood in ancient Egypt. Catastrophic flood. It could have happened. So among these two options, which one do you think Messinian event? Like I said, this event sort of thing, these are something geological or geophysical. and these are more nature oriented things. So the geological event resulting in the drying up of Mediterranean Sea is the answer to the question. And when I am speaking of guesswork in such questions, there is always a certain amount of risk. But if there are 5 questions, each mentioning a event, so and so event, then there are chances that whatever I am telling, it will be applicable in that 4 questions. There might be one question where my guesswork or my way of understanding could go wrong. But I am telling, if in this way, if we solve, out of that 5 questions or 5 times, you will get 4 times correct. Okay, next one is the chronological order. So this is a basic topic from Ocean. So you can manage it by yourself. Okay. There was a slight issue with this in the solution, so I'll discuss it. Which of the above conditions are favorable for the cultivation of orchids in the Mediterranean region? What do we know about Mediterranean region? We know that orchids are grown there and it is famous for that. So let us say Mistral and Bora winds. Suppose we do not know about it. Let us go to other options. Long roots of the plants. Which of the following conditions are favorable? So long roots of plants, if the plants have long roots, then there is scope for them to absorb more water from the surrounding region. So it can fight drought. So it is one of the favorable factors for any plant in general. Onshore westerlies in the winters. We know that Mediterranean region gets rainfall during the winters due to westerlies. So does it help in the cultivation of orchids? Yes. Generally, any plantation or plants that we have, they need good amount of water. So onshore westerlies will provide that water for its growth. So even this is correct. So like I said, first when we saw 2, we know 2 is correct. So this could be eliminated. Then when we see 3, we understand that even this could be eliminated. So 2, 3. Let us see the 4th option. Thick and leathery skin of the plants. Even this is a general feature of the plants, or you can call it as an adaptation mechanism of plants, that they develop thick and leathery skin so as to reduce the transpiration and evaporation. So even this is a favorable factor. So 2, 3, 4, they are favorable factors. And since none of the options meet it, there was a issue with the formation of the answers. So 2, 3, 4 are correct. Also Mistral and Bora winds accelerates the cultivation. Even this is correct. It is a new fact, though I do not emphasize you to remember these names, but you could have deduced that 2, 3, 4 are correct. So answer for 19 is 1, 2, 3, 4. Next is again Afar triangle. If you do not know where Afar triangle lies, then it is suggested that you skip this question. But if you are aware that if this is Africa sort of region, then if you know that this is Afar triangle region and Red Sea lies close by. If you know that Afar triangle lies here, then you could have thought of looking at the options to take a guesswork. Let's see how. Suppose if you know that Afar triangle lies in this African region, let us see what are the options. One is active volcanic eruption, and one is ongoing process of continental rifting. When we studied the plate tectonics, we know that there are divergent plate boundaries. First we know that there will be rift valley formation. After that we know that there will be a nascent sea formation. After that we know that there will be ocean formation. And you might have come across Red Sea, that it is a nascent sea which is ongoing rift slowly developing into an ocean. So Afar triangle is very close to the Red Sea area, so it will be influenced by it. So in that sense you could have gone for continental rifting option if you knew the position of Afar triangle, one, and second if you knew about Red Sea, that it's undergoing rift. Concentration of plastics and Afar triangle, even if you did not know about these 2 facts, you could have eliminated this. Vast deposits of precious minerals. The more minerals are concentrated towards here, South Africa, where we have diamonds and so on. So even this you could have eliminated. And active volcanic eruptions, this is not that area. There is a ring of fire where most of this occurs. So even with that sense, you could have eliminated and got this answer. Let's consider the following statements: mid-oceanic ridge, volcanic island, plate boundaries. So what do convergent plate boundaries lead to? What do divergent plate boundaries lead to? What do ocean plate convergence lead to? What does ocean continental plate convergence lead to? These are basics which you need to go through. Similarly, these are the characteristics of each of the region: tundra, taiga, pampas, which is a grassland, like we spoke there, Sahel region. So these are level 1 questions, but these are knowledge based questions. You should be aware of this to answer this. Which of the following are west flowing rivers? Rivers is another recurrently asked UPSC topic. You should be aware of which are the rivers which are flowing towards the east, which are the rivers which are flowing towards the west, which are the important tributaries of important rivers: tributary of Ganga, tributary of Yamuna, tributary of Godavari, tributary of Kaveri, tributary of Krishna, tributary of Narmada. These are the things which you need to be aware of. And the west flowing rivers has been very well mentioned in the NCERT. So these are the rivers, where are the positions, and these rivers passes through which states. You should be aware of these things. Moving to question number 24, again, what are the causes of coral bleaching? It is a basic question. Question number 25, oceans and seas are natural repositories of naturally occurring uranium. Okay. Instances of acid rain are not found. Instances of acid rain are not found in mountainous regions with thin soils. Increased precipitation aggravates the level of ammonia pollution in the environment. Okay, let us see at each of the statements individually. Oceans and seas are natural repositories of naturally occurring uranium. Now this is a correct statement, we know. We can understand that ocean has so much of resources and it hosts a blend of so many resources, so these minerals would be naturally present there. Second statement, instances of acid rain are not found in the mountainous regions. We know that mountainous regions are one of the areas which recurrently get rain, which recurrently get precipitation, because the air cools down here, reaches its dew point, and it sheds its moisture. So instances of acid rain are not found in mountainous regions. Even if you are not aware of this, you could have thought this sentence is going in a negative sense, telling that it is not possible, it is not at all possible, it is impossible. These sort of things, they are less correct usually. Increased precipitation aggravates the level of ammonia pollution. See, the question in this sort of questions, this increase, decrease, they usually give trap. It could have decreased, they will give increase, it could increase, they could give decrease. So when these terms come, increase, decrease, higher, lower, upper, lower. So in this sort of questions or sentences, we need to be very careful and extra attentive. So increased precipitation aggravates the level of ammonia pollution. Ammonia is present in the atmosphere in mostly the gaseous form, and when this ammonia pollution, which is the air pollutant, is present in the environment, when this precipitation happens, if this is the land, if there are pollutants, when the precipitation happens, then this precipitation settles the ammonia, bringing it to the ground. So when in the environment, the air pollution will decrease and not increase. They have given increased precipitation aggravates, which means increases the level of ammonia pollution. It's wrong. So answer would be, which of following statements are correct one. Consider the following statements about katabatic winds. So if you are not come across katabatic winds, though this term is mentioned in the NCERT, if you are not come across this, then this question is meant to be skipped. But if you are aware that there is something called mountain wind and valley wind. Katabatic and anabatic are alternatively used for this. Mountain wind means it moves from mountain to the valley. Valley wind means it moves from valley towards the mountain. So mountain wind is also termed as katabatic wind. So katabatic wind is the one which moves from mountain towards the valley. If you are aware of this thing, then you could have gone to attempt the question. But if you are not heard katabatic wind term, then this is meant to be skipped. So if you are aware of katabatic wind, that it moves from mountain to the valley, then let us see how we could have answered. It is a warm wind that blows up a mountain slope due to warmer temperature on the mountain slope. Like I said, it moves from mountain to valley. So what does it mean? That this is high pressure region and this is low pressure region. Mountain top gets cooler compared to the valley region. So when it gets cooler, the cooler air descends downwards. So it is not a warm wind, it is a cold wind. Like I said, higher, lower, increasing, decreasing, warm, cold, there are good chances that it might be interchanged. So it is a warm wind. Even if you had looked at the first word itself, you could have eliminated one, and if you had eliminated one, you would have got the answer. UPSC does give good number of questions in this way, but you have to be aware and you have to be confident while you are attempting, because if you look at options 2 and 3, then you might tend to skip the question, but then you will lose these 2 marks. But had you been calm in the exam, for instance, there were last 10 minutes and you had to attempt 10 questions and this was one of the question, then we tend to read it very quickly and leave the main hint here. If you had identified this, you would have got the answer. So that's why it's not just the knowledge, your cool mind also helps you during the exam. Similarly, which of the following statements with reference to distribution of earthquakes in the world? Now this is a basic question and I'll let you handle it. Okay, consider the following statements with reference to tsunamis. It can be caused by submarine landslides due to movement of sediments along the floor of the sea. You might have come across tsunamis that what are the causes for tsunami? Submarine landslide is one of the cause. Other cause could be a meteorite fall, or other cause could be a nuclear explosion like USA had done a couple of decades ago. So this is one easy statement. Let us look at this. The speed of the tsunami decreases as tsunami moves from deep water to shallow water. Now this is another fact which I want you to remember, that the speed of the tsunami is higher in deep waters compared to the surface, because as tsunami moves from deep water towards the surface, its speed decreases while its height increases. The decrease in speed and the corresponding increase in height has been done to maintain the total energy of the tsunamis constant. So the speed of tsunami is more when it is in deep water. Next is attraction of moon plays an important role in the formation of tsunamis. Look at the terms here. The attraction of moon is fine. Plays an important role. We know that the attraction of moon or the sun, it is responsible for the formation of tides, but not the formation of tsunamis. It has been framed in such a way that if you read it quickly without paying much attention, then you might consider it as correct. Next is again formation of earthquakes, Richter scale, Mercalli scale, basics. Consider the following statements with reference to process of exfoliation. Exfoliation, geomorphic process, you know about it. It is like peeling the layers of the onion. Types of lavas, so basic lava, acidic lava, and the types of lava and the contents present in it, you are aware of it. Which of the following states is nearest to the international dateline? States is another important topic. In the year 2022, states was asked as a 50-mark question in mains. So this is a very important topic. So which are the straits and where does this strait pass by, and positioning of the straits from north, from east to west or west to east, these are the questions which we can expect. International dateline, the answer is Bering Strait. How among the following can be considered? Okay, which among the following can be considered as the reason to activate mass moment? Now, like I said, mass moment, you should be aware of the basics, that mass moment, there is sudden downward movement of the land mass, and for mass moment it is the gravity that is responsible and not the weathering. So these are the things which we know. Let us look at the options. Reasons to activate mass moment: undercutting we know that in mass movement what happens if there is mountain slope, there is downward movement of mass of material. So undercutting of steep slopes. If there is steep slope undercutting, then it facilitates the movement. Removal of vegetation, again it will facilitate, because if there is no tree or other obstacles preventing the landmass movement, then it becomes easy for it to flow downwards. Heavy rainfall, yes, the water will pull along with it to facilitate the movement. And another one is animal movement. Animal movement is not responsible, because animal movements it keeps happening and isn't a major factor to cause mass movement. So in this only 3 is correct. See here with flow we read the first 3 options, but you need to pay equal attention when you are when you are seeing the 4th statement. Carbonation, chemical weathering phenomena. Consider the following statements. Carbonation process speeds up with a decrease in temperature. Let us see the other options. In oxidation, rock containing iron turns to rust. Okay, let us see others. Chemical hydrolysis process results in decrease in volume of the rock. Like I said, when there is words like increase, decrease, you have to become extra aware. Chemical hydrolysis. What happens in hydrolysis? There is separation of hydrogen and oxygen. Chemical hydrolysis process results in a decrease of volume of rock. So what happens when hydrolysis happens? The rock that is present will react with oxygen, forming oxides. And when it is forming that oxides, it will not decrease its volume, rather it will increase its volume. Had we eliminated 3, we would have got the answer. Suppose we were not aware of option statement 1, statement 2, then we could have come to statement 3 directly. Under the soil cover, chemical weathering of rocks becomes extremely slow. One thing is extremely, they are stressing, emphasizing, they are asking you to give extra attention with such words. They could have made you not think over it by giving sentences like under the soil cover, chemical weathering of soil generally becomes slow. Now that would have been more generic, but they are telling extremely, so asking you to pay extra emphasis. And when there is this extreme sort of words, it tends to be wrong commonly. Under the soil cover, chemical weathering of soil becomes extremely slow. No, it actually increases. So this is how we could have arrived 1 and 2. So that's why our mindset when we are attending the paper, first let us read statement 1. We do not know, let us not worry. Let us go to statement 2. Let us read it. If we do not know, if we do not understand, it's okay. Let us go to statement 3. Even if we do not understand statement 3, let us go to statement 4. Let us see all the statements, and in that 4 statements with decent control over the subject, at least there will be one statement wherein we can say either it is correct or either it is wrong. If it is wrong, we can eliminate 1 or 2 options. Then our process becomes easy, and this is how you need to practice. Which of the following factors are responsible for causing the phenomenon of ocean acidification? Even here with respect to solution, there is a little bit of miscreant, so I would like to tell. Which of the following factors are responsible for causing the phenomenon of ocean acidification? Now I believe all of you are aware of what ocean acidification is, because it is a very standard concept. Ocean acidification, the concentration of carbon in sea, in oceans, it will increase. So this results in ocean acidification. So what are the reasons for this to happen? Acid rain. Acid rain has a pH of less than 7 and it promotes ocean acidification. It is correct. So 2 has to be in our answer, which is there in all the options. Melting of Arctic ice, growth of phytoplankton, combustion of fossil fuel. Okay. Eutrophication is another process where we know that if this is the sea water, there are so many phytoplankton. But eutrophication is when this phytoplankton, they get over embedded. There is too much of phytoplankton in the water bodies. And what happens when this phytoplankton, when they decompose, they release carbon dioxide into the water, or even the organic matter or the bacteria and such microorganisms which are needed to decompose the phytoplankton after it's dead, they consume oxygen and they give out more carbon. So eutrophication leads to more ocean acidification, so does acid rain. Combustion of fossil fuel. See, in this question, factors responsible for causing the phenomenon. They have said only what are the factors which are causing. They have not asked which are the most important factors or which are the factors, which are the primary factors. They have not asked such thing. So, in this combustion of fossil fuel, even this will be one of the reason, because when combustion of fossil fuel increases, there will be more and more carbon in the atmosphere, and when there is more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, the plants or the phytoplanktons which are present in the ocean, they will absorb more carbon. So, even this is one of the reason. 1, 2, 3. So, 1, 2, 3. Next 4 and 5, melting of Arctic ice. Okay, melting of Arctic ice. So, like I said, this question is a little bit of tricky and it depends how the examiner thinks. Melting of Arctic ice. Now, Arctic ice has good amount of peat in it, and the frozen ice contains good amount of carbon which has been inside it for a very long period of time. So, melting of Arctic ice, it could release that carbon into the water as it joins the stream. So, even this becomes correct. So, answer is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Answer is 1, 2, 3, 4. Growth of phytoplankton. We should not get confused by this term. They are telling which are the factors are responsible for ocean acidification. Growth of phytoplankton in general is not responsible for ocean acidification. But if they had given a term like growth of harmful phytoplankton, or if they had given growth of eutrophic phytoplankton, or if they had given that harmful phytoplankton term, then this should be one of the reason. But since they are given just the growth, then that is not responsible. So, with respect to even a little bit of word, the answer could change drastically. Similarly, consider the following statements regarding hydrological cycle. Basics, you can handle it. An aquifer is defined, okay. Okay, even this question is a knowledge based question, but there is one thing that I want to discuss. See, they are given the definition of aquifer as to what it is and what are the correct options about aquifer. First, what is aquifer? If there is land here, there are so many areas from which the water will flow and it will get deposited in this underground, or it could even move to water streams. Alright. So, the ones that I have highlighted in yellow are the things that you need to remember. In this option, if at all we did not know anything, all we knew about was aquifers as to what it is, how we could have attempted it. We know what aquifers are: unconsolidated sand, gravel deposits from the best aquifer, we are not very sure of it. Sedimentary materials, we are not very sure of it. Let us see the third statement. Clays which constitute a large portion of pores are good aquifers. Like I said, aquifers means it is allowing the water to move past it or to move through it. So, clays have a large proportion of pores, it is correct. But like I said, when we spoke of black soil becomes clayey when wet. And what does clay means? Clay has that property to retain water. So, in clay there are pores, and these pores are not very well interconnected, because if they are interconnected like this, it would allow the movement of water from one pore to another pore. But in clays, the pores are very tightly packed and they do not allow water movement within it. So, that is why it is the property of the clay to retain water for a longer duration of time. So, clays which constitute a large proportion of pores are good aquifers. For aquifers, we want it to allow the water to pass through it, not to retain the water. So, 3 is wrong. Had we knew about this, we could have taken a guess over this. And sedimentary materials and unconsolidated sound, these are basic things. So, I want you to remember these two things with respect to aquifer. How many among the following can be considered as a reason for frequent occurrence of landslide in Himalayas? This is even a mains question that has been asked many times, as to what are the reasons for recurrent landslides occurring in Himalayas. What is the difference in occurrence of landslides in Western Ghats and Himalayas? So, these are basics which you need to know. So, relatively younger mountain landslides, you know that in younger mountains it occurs more. High range of diurnal temperature range, since there is very lot of temperature change, then it favors landslides. It is composed of igneous rocks. Now, you need to know in Himalaya region there is less igneous rocks, rather these are sedimentary deposits which allow the landslides to happen. So this is that one thing. And lack of isostatic equilibrium, this could be a new term for you. Infrastructure projects in ecological fragile regions. Whenever this infrastructure projects happens in ecological fragile regions, there will be landslides. Okay, we could have deduced this, we could have deduced this, and we could have deduced this. So 1 to 5 we could have deduced, and 3 we could have said it as wrong, and then we would have had to take either 3 or 4 had we not known about isostatic equilibrium. So isostatic equilibrium in simple words means if there is mountain here or if there is a plateau here, isostatic equilibrium is a stable condition. Isostatic, like the term says, equilibrium. Equilibrium is when the conditions are stable. The force beneath this and the weight or the force that is been putting downwards, both are well balanced, such as we see in peninsular region. So when this force is well balanced on both upper side and lower side, that means that the land mass is more stable. But like we said, Himalayas, they are younger region, younger mountain region, and we know that Himalayas are formed because of the tectonic plate movements. So Himalayas plates, they are still moving northwards. So we know that it is not a very stable region. So in that sense, we could have understood that it is not in a stage of equilibrium. So even if we did not know the term isostatic, we know that Himalayas, they are very dynamic, they are undergoing process. So there is frequent tremors, earthquakes or landslides that are occurring. So in that sense, we could understand that equilibrium is not something that could have happened in this region. So in that sense, we could have taken 4 rather than 3. With reference to evolution of Earth, how the Earth formed, these are basics. What were the gases that were present? What were the gases that came later? When did the plate tectonic movement start after the life evolved on Earth? All these things you need to be aware, and these are mentioned in your NCERT. Next is with reference to Narmada River. Like I said, river is a very important topic. Narmada River, consider the following statements. You should be aware of this. I highlighted this just to ensure that when we prepare our notes for rivers, we usually focus on tributaries of Ganga, Yamuna, Krishna, Godavari, but we tend to leave Narmada River or even Tapi River. So these are smaller rivers compared to the others, but these are also important and these are major tributaries. So I want you to remember these two things, and the rest are static things. With reference to Earth's satellite, again a new sort of question which you will be less aware of. With reference to Earth's satellite moon, only one side of the moon is visible from the Earth because the moon takes exactly the same time to rotate around its axis as the time taken to revolve around it. Due to moon's gravity, the rotation speed of the Earth is decreasing. Now these are new things which we might not study in our basic book. In this case, both the statements given are correct. Here, actually what happens, the moon rotates and revolves at the same time. So the period of rotation, the period of revolution for moon, in both the case, rotation and revolution, it is 27 days. So if this is the Earth and moon is revolving around the Earth, what is happening? It is not just moving like this in a circle. If it was just moving, we would have seen all its surface, but it is rotating even as Earth rotates and it is revolving. So from the position of Earth, when we see moon, we see only one surface of the moon. That means in simple words that moon, though it has two sides to see, we are seeing only the one side of the moon. And also, like I said, if this is the Earth and we have moon, we know that Earth will have a gravitational effect over the moon, and moon, though it is small, will have a good gravitational impact over the Earth. And we know the Earth rotates in 24 hours, whereas moon takes 27 days. And the gravitational impact of the moon over the Earth will try to slow the Earth, because since moon is taking more time and Earth is taking less, the moon would, through gravitational impact, try to increase Earth's time so that it matches with moon's. Like I said, in this question, these are conceptual. If we do not know this kind of thing, then there is very less scope to take guesswork here, because here we might again overthink that decreasing or increasing, it could be a trap, and try to consider it as wrong, and so on. Next, with reference to interior of the Earth, interior of the earth, what is it made of? Crust, core, mantle. What is the composition of crust? What is the composition of core? Now these are basics. Let us look at each of this. And what are the minerals that are found in each of this, and what kind of mineral is it? Is it igneous rock? Is it a metamorphic rock? Is it sedimentary? If it's sedimentary, what kind of sedimentary? So these are things which we need to know. Now gneiss characterizes continental crust and gabbro oceanic crust. Now there is nothing conceptual in this. Now these are facts which we need to know. Yes, gneiss is part of continental crust and gabbro is oceanic crust. Now statement 1 is correct. Next is asthenosphere is more ductile than lithosphere, but less ductile than lower mantle. When there is more, when something is said to be more than A and less than B, then be very careful that there are good options that they could be interchanged, is one possibility, or there could be good option that both options are wrong, or that asthenosphere is more ductile than both of them. So these are the 2-3 possibilities that occur when these two sort of things are given, more than this but less than this. So asthenosphere is more ductile than lithosphere. You know lithosphere and you know lower mantle, and you know about asthenosphere. You know that asthenosphere is in molten state, and something which is in molten state, which is more softer, is more ductile, since it could be easily bent or given any shape rather than something which is very rigid, brittle, such as the crust. So asthenosphere is more ductile than lithosphere, yes, and it is more ductile than lower mantle, because even the lower mantle is in a solid form, unlike outer core which is in liquid. If it was outer core, then it would have been some sort of confusion, but here it is more ductile than lithosphere as well as lower mantle. So this is wrong. Earth's magnetic field originates due to eddy currents. Now this is a fact. Earth's magnetic field, the reason for Earth's magnetic field is due to the eddy currents that occur in the outer core. So a couple of things about outer core. Outer core is in liquid form. Why is it in liquid form? Because the temperature in outer core is more compared to the inner core. So this is why it is in a molten form. Sorry, liquid is the wrong word. It is in molten form. So in this molten form, as the earth rotates, the outer core has more speed compared to the other parts. So since it is rotating at a more speed compared to the other parts, there is formation of eddy currents in this, and this is eddy currents are responsible for the Earth's magnetic field. This thing you should have known, it is part of basic. The inner core is composed primarily of iron and nickel. You can remember this as Ni-Fe. So crust, oceanic crust is Cl, it is silica plus aluminium. Sorry, continental crust is Cl, oceanic crust is Sima, silica and manganese, I think, manganese or magnesium, manganese, okay. Cl, Sima, Ni-Fe. You should be aware of these three things. I know that many of you might be waiting to look as to in which question we can make guesswork, but like I said, these are very conceptual papers, and this is basic static syllabus. The test itself is basic static syllabus, providing us less scope for guesswork, and this guesswork thing will evolve as we go ahead. In the first few test discussion, I do not want to discuss more of guesswork, because if I focus upon that, then aspirants might try to avoid studying or understand the concept. Rather, they would like to choose a shortcut to go for more guess. With reference to plate boundaries, now volcanic eruption, island arc, rift valley, when does it occur? When convergent plate boundary happen, when divergent plate boundary happen. These are basics. Another new concept which you might not be aware of: Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. So if you are not aware of this, then it becomes difficult to answer. Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, Madame Julian oscillation, Indian Ocean dipole, these are the things which you need to be aware of, because these are helpful both for prelims and mains. So in this reference, Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, it is a large system of ocean current that carry warm water from tropics into northern Atlantic. Okay, let us see later. It is driven by cumulative impact of Coriolis force and high speed wind velocity. It is important for marine biodiversity as it carries nutrients necessary to sustain ocean life. If you think it in a very broad perspective, you know that there is circulation, and since it's Atlantic, you know that it is a oceanic circulation. So when this circulation happens, the pollutants, if they are concentrated in a particular region, they get segregated, they get spread out. Similarly, nutrients, they move from one region to another region. So it is important for marine biodiversity as it carries nutrients necessary to sustain ocean life. So even if you did not know about the process, you know that the circulation, through this circulation, the nutrient movement would take place. So you could have guessed 3 as correct. So you could have guessed 3 as correct, but here since it's only 1, only 2, only 3, only 4, it becomes difficult to answer the exact answer. The phenomenon of global warming is responsible for increasing speed of circulation. Suppose if you are not aware of Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, AMOC, if you are not aware of AMOC, then you might think in general terms that because of global warming, there could be something like the ice melting, and since this ice is melting, it could add more water to the ocean and the circulation could get a boost. This is how you would think. So this is a question that you need to leave if you are not aware of AMOC, because you can only deduce one option as correct. Suppose if the options were designed in a different way, and if you had got 3 as correct, and if you had deduced it to 2 options, eliminating 2 options, then you could have taken a guess. But in this question, I suggest that if you are not aware of AMOC, then it is something that you need to leave. So what is this AMOC? Let us see in brief. If this is North America, this is South America, we know that this is the Atlantic region. So what happens in Atlantic, in AMOC, the warm water from the tropics, it moves towards the pole, and as it moves towards the pole, it gets cooled down, and since it loses its temperature, cold water is comparatively denser compared to warm water. So this water which moved from here to here, this is getting more denser, and the denser water in turn from pole moves towards the equator. So this in a forms a circulation. So if we knew about this concept, let us look at the question once again. It is a large system of ocean current that carry warm water from the tropics into the North Atlantic, correct? It is driven by cumulative impact of Coriolis force. Like I said, it is the density difference that is causing this circulation and not any other thing like Coriolis force or wind velocity. So this would have been wrong. The phenomenon of global warming is responsible for increasing the speed of circulation. When global warming is happening, it is not just the region near the equator that is getting warm. It is not just the region near the equator that is getting warm. Even the region near the pole and the subtropical region, even they are getting warm. And since even they are getting warm, the pressure difference between the region near the equator and the region near the poles or the subtropical region, the pressure difference decreases. When the pressure difference decreases, it is not increasing the speed, rather it is decreasing the speed. See, in this increasing decreasing, I think we discussed 4 questions, and out of this, in 3 questions, if they are given increase, it is decrease. If they are given decrease, the answer is increase. So like I said, you need to be more aware when these terms come. With reference to plate boundaries, okay, we discuss this. Most of the rivers originating from Himalayas in northern India flows towards east. Like I said, I have marked it in green because it's a level 1 thing. We should be aware of this thing. Suppose if we could not read this, or if we missed reading this, could we have taken a guesswork? Let us see that. I marked it in purple because there is scope for some guesswork. Most of the rivers originating from Himalayas flows towards east, and nearly 77% of the drainage is oriented towards Bay of Bengal. Which of the following is the most appropriate reason for this drainage system? Okay. So like they are telling, if we have this a rough map of India, they are telling that most of the rivers in Himalayas in northern India, they are flowing towards the east. Why is this thing happening? 77% of drainage is also oriented towards Bay of Bengal. Let us see why. Indian plateau slopes towards eastern side due to the upliftment of Delhi Ridge. If you have studied the Indian Physical Geography Blue Book, very well it is said that there is this Delhi Ridge region, and this is one of the important reasons why the rivers flow towards the east. Let us look at others. The perennial nature of river forces them to take longer course. This doesn't fit that good. The rivers have many tributaries creating eastward pressure. Tributaries are there even on the western side. So this is not the reason. Coriolis force is high around Tropic of Cancer, forcing rivers to deflect rightward. Now river movement and Coriolis force are not related concepts. So if you did not know about this, you knew that this would not be the answer. You know that even tributaries is not that good of a reason for the eastward flow. So what are the remaining options? Perennial nature of river forces them to take longer course. Now perennial rivers are there in Himalaya region, okay, but 77% of the drainage is oriented towards Bay of Bengal. This includes even the peninsular rivers, be it Godavari or Krishna, even they are oriented towards the eastern region. So it's not just a perennial nature, and perennial nature is not the reason. So you could have thought of this, that there is some upliftment which is causing the rivers to forcefully move towards the east rather than the west. And this concept which I spoke of, Delhi Ridge, you will come across this when you study the evolution of drainage systems, as to how the Delhi Ridge was formed, as to how the Brahmaputra changed its path, as to how the Indus changed its path. So if you had studied, it would be easy, or else you could have made a certain amount of guesswork based on the above said reasons. In India, tropical wet evergreen forests are predominantly found in which of the following regions? This is very basic thing. Where are tropical rainforest found? Where are tropical evergreen forest found? Where are tropical evergreen forest found? Tropical thorn forest, and all these things you need to know. These are basic things. I do not want to dwell upon it since it will take a lot of time for the lecture to end if I do that. Consider the following statements about alpine forest. Even this is basic. Like I said, there are certain things like they are only found in Eastern Ghats, silver fir, juniper, common vegetation that can be found. See, look at the terms. When they are telling this, they are telling common vegetation. They form more than 20%. In questions, usually when this data is given like 20%, 15%, 17%, give extra emphasis over the digits, because these are areas where UPSC gives trap, and institute, when they are setting the paper, they follow the same pattern. They give traps in these numbers. So even if you knew about the forest cover, as to which are the important forests, the tropical deciduous forest cover most of India, next comes the evergreen, and these sort of things, if you were aware, then you would know that alpine forest or the mountainous forest, these forests constitute very small part. If you were to draw India's map, sorry for my rough work, I am just doing it very quickly. You know that deciduous, there is so much of region that is coming deciduous, then evergreen, then there is small thorn forest. You know that mountainous would be like very small region, little region here, little region in northeast, and little region near the Nilgiris and so on. So anyway, you could have understood that it doesn't constitute 20%. If you had eliminated 3, option A and D would be eliminated, then 1 becomes correct. 1 second. Okay, sorry. If you had eliminated 3, then C and D would be eliminated. Then one which of following statements are incorrect? Okay. So 3 is incorrect. So answer has to be C or answer has to be D. So among this, if you have to choose one of the option as wrong among statement 1 and statement 2, go for the statement which you feel is very less wrong. So if you are not aware of the species that are commonly grown in this type of forest, then look which of the statements seems more wrong. Here there is only given and here there is commonly given. So only and commonly given, which seems to be more wrong here, only seems more extreme. So you consider 1 as wrong rather than 2. So 1 and 3 becomes your answer. Next, increasing salinity has been a major problem of soils in various regions of India. In this context, which of the following practices can help to reduce the salinity levels in the soil? Application of gypsum, adding rice straw, performing deep tillage. Okay. So soil salinity, as we know, has been a very recurrent issue it keeps happening over the Indian landscape, and this affects the afforestation and the biodiversity in the region. So what could be done? Application of gypsum. If you do not know about gypsum, I like to add one thing, that gypsum is a very good agent to fix salinity. Those studying for forestry course would come across this knowledge, though not for CSE prelims. That application of gypsum, what does it do? Gypsum provides calcium ions, and these calcium ions, they replace the sodium ions present in the soil. This sodium soil is called sodic soil, and this soil with sodium ions, they are saline. So gypsum, when added, it provides calcium ions which replace the sodium ions. So gypsum, or even if you do not want this to be remembered, just remember that gypsum helps to fix the soil acidity. So before afforestation in the regions which are affected by salinity, what they do, if this is the land, they try to dug out a certain part of the soil, they fill in gypsum here, and then they add this soil, another layer here, and here they plant the sapling. So gypsum has a positive thing. Or even if you did not know about that, if you knew that gypsum has a positive effect over planting, then even then you could have thought one to be correct. Another one is adding rice straw and husk to the soil. So again here, rice straw and husk to the soil, though we do not know exactly what it does, we know that we do mulching to the soil, which has a positive effect on the soil. So we know that it definitely does not have a negative effect. So does it help to reduce the salinity? You could have considered it as correct, since it has a positive effect. Performing deep tillage. You need to be careful that even if you do not know as to what deep tillage would do, normally whenever we are doing agriculture in general, it is said to do less tilling or minimum tilling, because when we do deep tilling, there is more chances that the soil erosion could happen. So here in this case, even if we did not know as to how the deep tillage and salinity were related, if we knew in our mind that deep tillage is not something which is good for the soil, we would have considered this as wrong, we would have considered this as right, and we would have considered this as right and gone with 1 and 2. So this was the guesswork part. Now I'll tell what impact deep tillage has. When we do deep tillage, when we do deep tillage over the soil, it accelerates the evaporation, and when this evaporation is been accelerated, the soil loses the moisture. There is moisture decrease in the soil, and the salts are retained back in the soil, because with evaporation only the water moves upward, not the salts. So instead, when we do deep tillage, the salinity of the soil increases and not reduces. This was the concept. How many among the following can be considered as factors responsible for foggy weather? In the solution that was given, I found a glitch, so I wanted to address this. Factors responsible for foggy weather. Now understand, we are talking about fog, which is the water vapor present in the atmosphere. We are talking of fog and not of smog. Be very careful, do not try to confuse. Fog is when we have water vapor, good amount of water vapor, which creates a very gloomy condition in the upper atmosphere above our heads. But smog is when the smoke gets mixed with the fog. So smog gets facilitated when there is pollution, but for fog there is no need of pollution. So foggy weather, what are the factors that have been responsible? Western disturbance, you know that westerlies brings moisture from the western part, like Mediterranean region, to the northwestern parts during the winter. So western disturbance causes foggy weather. Yes. High variability in the wind speed. If there was high variability in the wind speed, the wind would have moved the moisture molecules present in the atmosphere in that particular region. So it is not the reason, because if there is high wind variability, the foggy weather would not get time to get set up in that particular region. Next, supply of moisture from water bodies. Like I said, we need moisture in the atmosphere and we need source for it. So rivers are good source. So this is also one of the reason. Presence of PM 2.5 particles in the air. Why did I give this reference that this is fog, this is smog? Like I said, presence of PM 2.5 particles in the air is needed for smog and not for fog. So answer is 1, answer is 3, 1 and 3 are correct. Similarly, this is a easy question. Which among the following soils are poor in nitrogen? See, we need to know alluvial soil, black soil, red soil, all these soils. We need to know what are they rich in and what are they poor in. We need not remember each and everything that is present. Like as to alluvium is rich in so and so, it is poor in so. There might be 4 or 5 minerals which it might be poor in, but we need not remember all of them. Mainly try to remember NPK, because this is what a plant will need: nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. In general, all the soils are poor in nitrogen. So answer to this question is actually 1, 2, 3, 4. But there are 1 or 2 soils which are good in potash, and there are 3 other soils which lack potash. So just focus on these 3 factors, and if you want to remember, add one more thing, that what it has or what it does not have. Do not try to mug up every mineral as to which soil has which mineral which it does not have, because if you take too much of memory into your brain, then it becomes difficult. Especially if the question is not asked by UPSC, then you might lose a lot of memory into nothing. Moving ahead, the local winds. Local winds is an important topic. I have marked this in orange so that you go through these facts and you make a note of it. Local winds. So what kind of wind is found in which region? They can ask in match the following form, or they can give statements. They might give it as cold wind, warm wind. So if you are aware of it, we can easily get the answer. Kali Andi, you need to know that it is from northwestern region. Yes. Violent dust storms occurring in northwestern parts. Okay. Lu are cold and moist winds. Lu is a warm wind. It has been mentioned even in NCERT, but they have not mentioned about Kali Andi or the other wind. So Kali Andi is correct, Lu is wrong. Shamal are hot and dry winds blowing over coast of Tamil Nadu during summer season. Suppose we are not aware of it, we know that 2 is wrong. We are made to take 50-50 among A and C. So Shamal, winds blowing over coast of Tamil Nadu during summer season. Suppose we are not aware of it, the only thing that we can do here is Shamal. Does it seem like a South Indian word? Does it seem like a word which is related to Tamil Nadu? This is how we could have thought of. Shamal doesn't seem that way. So when you have to take 50-50 choice, then you can think of it. I personally feel it doesn't feel that way. And actually the answer to this question is only 1, because 3 is wrong. So in this way you could have deduced. But like I said, local winds is very important. You need to know what kind of wind is found in which region, and also the sort of pre-monsoon rain that you get. For example, coffee blossoms, mango showers, you need to know in which region it happens and which crops does it favor when it happens. So these are things which you need to know. So I'll try to move a little faster so that the class winds up quickly. Consider the following statements regarding cold weather season. You know about cold weather season, so you can manage this. One more thing, if you are not aware is, I want you to add this fact that cold winds coming from Turkmenistan, they do bring cold wind along with frost in northwestern parts of India. In northwestern parts of India, there is excessive cold that we know, and one of the reasons is western disturbance, and another reason is the cold winds coming from Turkmenistan. I want you to make a note of it. Moving ahead, which of the following rivers originate through India? Now this is basic, from where it originates. Though you do not know the exact glacier name or so, you need to know whether it is within India or outside India, and these rivers passes through which of the states, like Indus, that Panchgad river, whichever is there, Ravi, Beach, Sutlej. What are the states that each of these rivers passes? We should be aware. Next, again, basics of soil. Next, regarding Indian monsoon, again it is a easy question based on monsoon winds and retreating. Next, how many of the following are located or found within Lakshadweep Island? The ones that are marked as circle in reading are the questions that are meant to be skipped, because in this question they asked about which of the following islands are located in Lakshadweep? We know about Barren Island because it is famous for its volcanic activity and it is in Andaman and Nicobar. But what about others? Andaman and Nicobar. But what about others? If you have not heard about Narkandam Island, if you have not heard about Baratang or Dinodar, it is better that we skip. Or else, because here the options are difficult, only one, only two. Since we know only of Barren, it is better that we skip. And we cannot try to remember each and every island that is present in Lakshadweep. We can try to remember only the 4 or 5 important ones. Because UPSC could give, if it frames a question, it could use some other islands which are not mentioned here. So there is no point in remembering all of this. If you have to remember, let us go with Barren and Narkondam. Even Narkondam is found in Andaman and Nicobar. Moving ahead, which of the following statements regarding the process of formation of Aravalis? This is easy. Which of the following hills or ranges are part of Satpura range? Now same thing here, Satpura range. If this was Madhya Pradesh, we know that somewhere here, this is that Vindhya region and this is Satpura range. Now range means it is a chain of mountains or chain of hills. What is this? This is Madhya Pradesh. So Satpura range, not just in Madhya Pradesh, it extends to adjoining states also. So what are the hills that are present? Now we need to solve these kind of questions, we need to take printout of an India map in a plain sheet. We'll get it on Google, we just need to get it printed. And once we get it printed, we need to mark each of these hills, Mahadev, Maikala, Rajmahal, important hills, Sheshadri hills. So all these hills we need to mark so that when we get these kind of questions, we can at least make a broad approximation as to where it could be. So Satpura range, if you know, Maikala is very near, Mahadev is very near, but Rajmahal is in the Jharkhand region. So if you knew this, 4 you would have eliminated, 4 gone, 4 gone. So 1, 3 is correct, 2 we are not aware. Rajpipla, it is not a very famous hill, and in this case, even if I had to attempt, I knew only these three, 1, 3 and 4 because I had marked it on my sheet. But Rajpipla, when we asked this new thing, we are forced to take a guess between C and D. So in this case, the answer is 1, 2, 3. But at least you could have deduced it to 2 options. And if UPSC is interested, it could even ask a easier question where we know all the hills. Next again, which of the following statements general difference between Eastern Ghats, Western Ghats? It is an easy question. With reference to Western Himalayas, consider the following statements. See, even same thing here, Western Himalayas we know, but look at the statements. The Shivalik Himalayas is locally known as Nag Thibba in Uttarakhand. If we have never heard this term, because this is not generally which is been studied or which we come across. Marg or submerged grasslands found on slopes, even this we have not heard. All the 3 ranges are found in the region. This is the only thing that we have heard. So if these kind of questions come, then it is better that we skip. Consider the following statements regarding various rock systems of India. So here I have given 2 ink, one is the orange ink and one is the purple ink. Orange ink because I want you to remember the rock formations. Where are these rocks found and in what region does it fall? So this is important. So I want you to know about Archean rocks, about Vindhyan rocks, about Gondwana rocks. Vindhyan and Gondwana, at least we could make a guess as to where it could be. So let us look at the statements. You see the synopsis, you see where are these rocks found. This is for you to do. Now I'll discuss what could have been the guesswork part. Archean rocks are only found in the Aravalli mountains. Suppose we do not know Archean rocks where it is found, but they are telling only in Aravallis, near this Rajasthan sort of region. Okay. Now only found in Aravallis, these rock formations, whenever they are formed, they are formed across multiple states or a larger region. So only found in Aravallis would have been wrong. Papagani series is related. See, they are not saying only found or exclusively found. They are telling it is related. So it is a very generic sort of term. So when these terms come, it is generally good that you take it as correct, that it is related. Next is Vindhyan rocks are largely devoid of metaphorous minerals. Look at the word formation here. Vindhyan rocks are largely devoid. They could have said they are completely devoid. Then we would think it as negative and take it as wrong. But here they have given that largely word just to make us think in a positive way. So Vindhyan rocks are largely devoid of metalliferous. Ferrous means iron. Fe, iron. You should know that where are this iron formed? It is found towards the eastern side or the central eastern part. So the Vindhyan part, it is devoid of metaferrous minerals. This is actually correct. Suppose if I had eliminated one also, we would have got 2 and 3 as correct anyway. Gondwana rocks are known for their rich coal deposits. So where does this Gondwana region form? Gondwana region, it comes near the Jharkhand, Odisha region, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand. So this is the region where it comes, and these regions are known for their coal deposits, be it Raniganj coal field or other coal fields, Bokaro, all these regions. So this we would have known. So if we had got one as wrong, at least then we could have made 50-50. And since we know that 4 is also easy statement, then after eliminating B and D, if we knew 4 was correct, then we would have got the answer. So like I said, the guesswork matters, or the guesswork works when you know basics correct, because nowadays when we see every question, there are 4 statements, out of which if we know good amount of knowledge, if you have control over our basics, then we can at least try to address those 2 statements in the question, and if it is correct or if it is wrong, based on that we can eliminate the options. Which of the following statements are correct about the Himalayas? Marmota glacier, longitudinal valleys, crustal thickness. Similar thing here, if you are not aware of these things, let us look at the third statement. The crustal thickness of Himalayas range generally increases from Indo-Gangetic plain towards Himalayan plate. When we speak of the crust, we need to know that crust is not flat. There are certain areas where it is higher, say this is plateau, and there are certain areas where there are mountains. So the crustal thickness is higher where the mountains are there, because if this is the crustal level, then it is the mountain where the thickness is higher compared to other areas. So crustal thickness increases, and that too they are given another word to favor our thinking, generally increases from Indo-Gangetic plain towards Greater Himalayas since the altitude increases. So this is correct. Okay, 3 is there in all the 4 options. Longitudinal valleys present in the Himalaya regions are known as duars. If you knew the longitudinal valleys, what they were called in Himalayas, they are called as duns. Dun or D-U-N. Patankot Dun, Dehradun, Dun. Okay, Dehradun or Patankot Dun, that is what they are called. Even if you are not aware of that, when they say as duars, you know that duars are not found in Himalaya region. Another way to get it right is duars are alluvial soil. They are alluvial soil that are found in regions very near to the eastern part of India, like West Bengal. So duars are seen in this region like West Bengal and not in the Himalayan regions. So in that sense also you could have eliminated. So if you knew about dun, you could have eliminated. If you knew about duar, you could have eliminated both ways. If 2 was eliminated, then 1. Marmolada glacier is one of the largest glacier located in Himalayas. Suppose if you do not know about this, it is one of the largest glacier. See, suppose if it was matched the following, and if you had given us, it would be difficult for us to answer. But here they have said one of the largest glacier. We know that Boltaro and Siachen, Boltaro and Siachen, these are the largest glaciers. Or we could have even thought in this way that we have studied Himalayas, we have studied the important or the largest glaciers of Himalayas. How come we did not come across this? So maybe this could not have been the option and could have been framed just to make it as a trap. Even in this way we could have thought. So making this option as wrong. So answer will be C. Which of the following statements best explains the term derins? Like I said, I have marked it in red because this is a trap. Derins. There are questions where terminologies could be deduced, but there are questions where we cannot deduce. So this is one of the thing. The only thing that we could have deduced here is this is something like derins, the coastal backwaters of Malabar. Now this term does not seem like a Malabari word or South India related word. So this could have been eliminated. The basin made of, it is speaking that Dhiren could have been a basin which is made of unconsolidated deposits. It's possible. Or again they have said basin. developed in an area of intense this, or the moving or shifting sand dunes. So here it is difficult to deduce among these three. But suppose if each of the options meant a different term, such as the range refers to a grassland with so and so, it refers to a region of water with so and so, it refers to a dune present in desert with so and so. If they were unique terms, we could have deduced to some extent. But here, since they are mentioning the same sort of things, it becomes difficult, and it is better that we skip this question. Again, karevas. In this question, we know that karevas are something which are found in Kashmir region, which is good for saffron cultivation. This has been mentioned in the NCERTs. That is why I tell, if you get the NCERT basics correct, if you are aware of what is there in the NCERT, then you can deduce the options and arrive towards the right option. So karevas are fertile alluvial soils found in Kashmir Valley. So you know that they are found in Kashmir Valley. It's correct. These are important for cultivation of almonds, walnuts, apples. We know that it is good for saffron cultivation. If you know this fact, it's fine. Or else the other way of thinking is, karevas are cultivated in Kashmir and apples, walnuts are also cultivated in Kashmir. So there is good amount of chance that karevas could favor this. So in that sense, we could have thought karevas are formed of unconsolidated deposits. Most of the soils, they are formed of unconsolidated deposits. So there is nothing unique or extreme about it. Karevas are characterized by their high content of iron oxide. So you would have studied the other soils which are known for iron oxide, like laterite soil or the red soil. So you know that karevas is not something which the iron oxide it could have been associated with. So you could have eliminated 4. If you had eliminated 4, you knew 1 is correct. So 2 also becomes correct. So in that sense, you could have got 1, 2, 3 correct. So like I said, if you had eliminated 4, you would have got eliminated 4 and considered statement 1 as correct. Then you would have arrived at the answer easily, because 2 is present in both places, both here and here. So like I said, to answer the question correctly, you need not know all the 4 statements. Even if you know the 2 statements or 3 statements, you can deduce based on how the examiner has set the options. Now again, this is a simple question based on soil. Like we already spoke about black soil. This is also basic thing, atmospheric pressure, as to how it will vary. Basic questions: seismic waves, surface waves, primary waves, secondary waves. What is the speed? What are the mediums through which it passes? Which is the most destructive? These are the things which we need to be aware of. With reference to Earth's atmosphere, again let us look if there is something possible, some guesswork possible. With reference to Earth's atmosphere, which of the following statements are correct? UV radiation is completely absorbed by the ozone layer. Extra emphasis here, by the ozone layer, with no portion reaching the Earth's surface. No portion reaching the Earth's surface. Extreme, you know it. Let us look here. Majority of solar energy reaching the Earth is in the form of visible. They have said majority, not all the solar energy. Okay. Carbon dioxide is primarily responsible for absorbing visible light. Greenhouse effect is caused by reflection of solar radiation by clouds. See, when there is solar radiation, the solar radiation comes in the form of infrared, it comes in the form of visible light, it comes in the form of UV light. Now everything is absorbed is definitely not correct, because nowadays we are emphasizing too much upon applying of sunscreen. Why is this happening? Because the ozone layer is getting depleted and the UV rays, they are making damage to our skin. So that is why these sunscreens have got a boost these days. So even with that knowledge, we could have understood that option is wrong. Then carbon dioxide is the primary gas responsible for absorbing. Carbon dioxide is primary gas. Until here we think it's correct, but then responsible for absorbing visible light. Carbon dioxide helps to heat up the earth. So visible light is not the heating part, it is the infrared radiation which causes the atmosphere to heat up. So carbon dioxide is responsible for absorbing infrared radiation in the atmosphere, not the visible light. And the greenhouse gas effect is caused by the reflection. It is not caused by the reflection, it is caused by the absorption of infrared radiation. They added this term here. And suppose if you are not sure that majority of solar energy, is it in infrared form or visible form, in that case first let us see other options and try to disprove it. Like I said, this could be disproved and this could be disproved, this could be disproved. So even if we did not know about B, we could have disproved these three options and come here. Again, some basics as to what happens with greenhouse gases, aerosols. This is another topic which I want you to make note of, and now highlighted it in orange part. So important lakes. UPSC has asked in PYQs many times with regard to lake that are under threat. So there are certain lakes that are getting drying up very soon because of human related activities, or there could be lakes that are undergoing severe pollution. So these are the lakes which will be in current affairs, and UPSC tries to focus on this. But it becomes very difficult to remember which lakes, as to how many lakes to study. So the best thing that we can do is we can do the physical geography mapping, that as to which lake is present in which part of the world. So if they ask in match the following, we can get those correct. But with respect to the recurrent thing that is happening with respect to a given lake, that will only be covered in current affairs. So Lake Titicaca, Lake Maracaibo, Lake Pupa, Lake Buenos, all four are in South America. Lake Titicaca is in a good condition. It has not dried. Lake Maracaibo is also in a good condition, and Lake Buenos is also in a good condition. It is Lake Popo which is under threat because of combined effect of climate change and pollution. So if you knew this, if you studied this about Lake Popo in current affairs, you could attempt it, or else there is no point in attempting it. It is better that you skip it. In the southern hemisphere, the shortest day of the year, same thing, summer solstice, winter solstice concept. Next, tundra biome is characterized by low growing vegetation. Again, here in the synopsis sheet, I found some glitch, so I am talking about it. The tundra biome is characterized by low growing vegetation. We know about this. The development of forest in tundra region is generally limited by one or more environmental conditions. Okay, so what are these conditions which are limiting the growth of vegetation in tundra biome? We know it is been associated with permafrost, which is not very favorable for the plants to grow. And what about strong winds? Tundra region is a region which is characterized by strong winds. Why? Because tundra region does not have forest cover, it does not have vegetation. If we had trees, then they would act as obstacle to winds, reducing the speed and the impact of the winds. But tundra region, it is a plain land, so there are only small mosses and ledges, and the velocity of the wind, it is higher compared to some area where there are trees which block the winds, reducing its speed. So strong winds is also one of the reason. Low temperature, in fact this is more low temperature which is not favorable, this is also correct. High precipitation is not something which happens in tundra region because there is very less heat that is needed for transpo evaporation. And tundra region is a region which is characterized by short growing season. This is known for us. Or even if you did not know that there is a short growing season, you could understand that tundra region, it is very difficult to grow vegetation. So there is only a very short period of time or short scope to grow vegetation in tundra region. So this is also correct. Answer should have been 1, 2, 4, 5. Answer should have been 1, 2, 4, 5. That is why I thought I will discuss this. And here, like I said, short growing season. Tundra region is characterized by short growing season. Now there is no point in going too deep as to what the season could be, whether it is 6 weeks, whether it is 10 weeks. There is no point in it because it could vary year to year also. With reference to freshwater resources on planet Earth, this is basic, this has been asked even in PYQ. With reference to effects of volcanic eruption, so what happens, what is the impact of aerosols, that it leads to cooling of Earth, these things you should be aware of. Then again, during the equinox, both northern hemisphere, this is something which you should know, because summer, like I said, summer solstice, winter solstice, autumn equinox and spring equinox, and what date it happens, and when it happens, what is the position of the Earth with respect to sun, where does the north pole lies, is it towards the sun, is it away from the sun? These are things which you need to be aware of. But let me see if there is some guesswork that could be done in case if you are not aware of this. During the equinoxes, both the north and southern hemisphere experiences approximately equal duration. Approximately, not exactly, approximately equal duration of day and night. During the equinox, neither the south nor the north pole of the equator is tilted towards the sun. So even if you did not knew much about this, about the equinox, but you knew about the summer solstice, that when the summer solstice happens, the north pole leans more towards the sun. When winter solstice happen, the south pole leans more towards the sun. So when it is equinox, we can understand that neither the north nor the south will be more tilted towards the sun. That is why it is called equinox. So during the equinox, both north and southern hemisphere experiences equal duration of day and night. When can equal duration of day and night happen? It can happen when neither the north nor the south pole is tilted more towards the sun. So statement 1 and statement 2 are reinforcing each other. So when these statements are reinforcing each other, either both the statements are correct or both the statements are wrong. Statement 1, look at the options. Option A says both are correct, option B says both are correct, option C says one is correct, one is incorrect. So this is not at all possible. Both the statements are reinforcing each other. There is no option telling that both 1 and 2 are wrong, because if they had said that, then it would become difficult to make a guesswork. So in this statement, even if you do not have knowledge of this, but both the statements 1 and 2 are reinforcing each other, you could have made a guess that both statement 1 and 2 are correct and 2 is the reason for 1. Again, with reference to Mediterranean climate is a very important part of the syllabus. You need to know when the rains happen, what are the crops grown there. It's part of the basic, and we'll move ahead. So statements regarding movement of winds in anticyclonic condition, even this is basics given in NCERT. Next, with reference to cycle of illumination. See, if you have never heard cycle of illumination, this is a question that needs to be skipped. It is a circle that divides day from night. It is perfectly aligned. It always bisects, and there is no extreme statement in either of these. All these statements look in a sort of generic way and look very closely related to each other, and there is no option like 1, 2, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3. So if there was option like 1, option A was 1, option B was 2, option C was 1 and 2, option D was 2 and 3. If we had such options, we could have at least thought of taking a guess. But in this case, it is better that you leave this question and move ahead. Consider the following statements regarding the term Bog burst. So let us see if we could have deduced this question. Bog and burst. You might have heard of bogs, B-O-G-S, when you are studying about peat. Peat and bogs are the same. Peatland. So peatland, what are these? Peatlands, these are regions where the peatlands are wetlands which consist of accumulation of dead matter. So there is a wetland, that is a water filled land, and there is dead matter present in it, because since this matter are present in water, they are unable to completely decompose. And bogs or peatlands are these regions. And what is the other word? Burst. So burst means it is happening suddenly, it is not something continuous process. So what are the options available? Sudden release of methane gas from underground peat deposit. Rapid expansion of wetland areas due to heavy rainfall. See, even if heavy rainfall happens, it will take a lot of time for this to happen. So it doesn't seem like a burst thing. Extensive wildfire in peatlands, areas due to climate change. Now this is giving reference to peatland and also wildfire. Let us look at other options. Sudden and rapid downslope movement of peat, often triggered by heavy rainfall or rapid snowfall. Bog burst seems like a sudden release of something. So it points more towards the release of methane gas rather than others. Because here the burst, it is referring to movement. Burst doesn't seem like a movement thing. It seems most like a release sort of thing. And even wildfire rather than this and this, option A seems to be more correct. If we did not know, if we knew even about box, the one thing that we could have done was eliminate B, and we were forced to take a guess between A, C and D. Many of the things or the guesswork that I tell here might seem very unofficial to you or informal, because these are things which I have thought about over a very long duration of time. But as we proceed on, when I keep telling about these tricks again and again, you yourself will develop an algorithm. But for that you'll have to keep a little bit of patience. Following statements about summer solstice again. Vadose zone. If you are not aware of Vadose zone, then it is good that you leave the question, because the statements are not very favorable to take a guesswork. Vadose zone, layer of soil rock excessively saturated. It is a layer of this, it is a zone of saturation. It is Earth's subsurface. Area beneath the earth. See, area beneath, subsurface, zone of saturation related to underground water, or layer of soil. So all of these are pointing towards the similar things, which makes the guesswork very difficult. So this is the option that needs to be skipped. Geological formation. With reference to geological formation, statements regarding festoons. If you see festoons, when you are reading this, you might think that this is a very new term. You have not come across this, so you might try to skip this question. But what I recommend is, whenever you read a question, and even if you come across some concept which you have never heard of, just look at the statements, see if there is any hint given. Festoons are chain of volcanic islands that emerge above sea level, marking the continuation of mainland. So mainly they are telling festoons are volcanic islands. Second thing, festoons originate generally at convergent plate boundaries between two oceanic plates with different densities. So just see that how are volcanic islands formed? Volcanic islands are formed because of the convergence of two oceanic plates. So look at statement 1 and statement 2. If festoons are volcanic islands, then they originate from convergent plate boundary becomes correct. And if festoons originate from convergent plate boundaries, then it is true that festoons are volcanic islands. Both A and B are reinforcing each other, and there is no option telling that statement 1 and statement 2 are false. There is only option telling that this statement 1 and statement 2 are correct, or either one is correct, one is wrong. But that is not the case here. Both are reinforcing each other, just like the previous case where I said a couple of questions ago. So both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and both are reinforcing each other. So in this way you could have arrived at option, correct answer, even without knowing about festoons. So this is how, if you remain calm and composed in the exam, and if you look at the options, you get hints, and you can take guesswork in this way. Vadose zone. In Indian Ocean, there is reversal of direction of current between summer and winter. What is the primary reason? Indian Ocean, there is reversal of direction of ocean currents between summer and winter. What do we know when we hear about reversal of direction? What comes to our mind? The first thing that comes to our mind is monsoons. So even if we did not have this in our mind, let us see what could have been the options. Indian Ocean, reversal of ocean currents has been happening. So gravitational pull of the moon is related to tides and not the ocean currents. Change in intensity of Coriolis force. Now change in intensity of Coriolis force is causing reversal of ocean currents. That is not the case, because that has not been observed anywhere, that some change in intensity is happening and it is causing reversal. So even this is not the option. Rotation of the earth. If rotation of the earth was responsible, then not just in the Indian Ocean, we would have studied that ocean currents are changing their direction even in other oceans, if rotation of earth was responsible. Change in the direction of monsoon winds. What we know when we listen reversal of direction is a change in direction of monsoon winds. Suppose if we saw these options and we did not know about what the reason could be. If we look at the options, we know that A is not the reason, B is not the reason. If C is the reason and D is the reason, if you have to select between C and D, D is more appropriate. This we can understand, because if C, rotation of the earth, is responsible, then it would have happened even in other parts and not just in Indian Ocean part. So in this way you can deduce the answer just by looking at the options. With reference to temperature distribution in the oceans, one thing which I didn't like when I saw this question was temperature distribution in the ocean. The ocean in the southern hemisphere have a higher average surface temperature compared to the northern hemisphere. In this question, rather than this word, they could have said the oceans in southern hemisphere have a generally have a higher temperature compared to the northern hemisphere. If they had given generally it has a higher temperature, then it would be easy for us to tell that it is wrong. But when they speak of higher average surface temperature, it becomes a little bit of confusing, because in the northern hemisphere we know that there is more land mass. During summer the land masses heats up more, but during winter it also gets more cooler compared to the southern hemisphere. So in northern hemisphere during summer it is getting more hotter also, and during winter it is getting more cooler also. So it becomes difficult for us to tell when we take the average surface temperature as to whether it's north or south. Another thing which I want to mark in orange is ocean gyres. You need to know about ocean gyres as to what they are and as to how they are formed. Ocean gyres are more frequent at the equator compared to higher latitudes. Center of the ocean gyres is usually rich. Okay. Let us understand what these ocean gyres are. I have drawn world map: North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Australia. Ocean gyres, there are 5 ocean gyres in the world map. One is North Atlantic Ocean gyre. Another one is South Atlantic Ocean gyre. Another one is North Pacific, South Pacific, and Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean gyre. So ocean gyres, these are the current movements happening in the ocean as a result of Coriolis force. The Coriolis force causes the ocean gyres to rotate in a circular pattern. So when this happens, what happens? Ocean gyres are more frequent at the equators, compared to the higher latitudes. You know that at the equator the Coriolis force is minimal or 0, and it is maximum at the poles. So if there is no Coriolis force, then how can ocean gyres happen more at the equator? Then this becomes wrong. So ocean gyres are more at higher latitudes and less at equator. One is wrong. Center of the ocean gyres is usually rich in nutrient content and known for greater diversity. Like I said, ocean gyres, excuse me for this pattern, they are a circular pattern. They are not just semicircle, they are a circular pattern. So when we speak of ocean gyres, they are in the circular or anti-circular pattern, and the nutrients exchange in this circumference pattern, and the center region that is there, it is calm, since the nutrient exchange or the movement of water does not happen here. So the center of ocean gyres is rich in nutrient is wrong. Next, Indian Ocean gyre in the North Indian Ocean flows in a clockwise direction during the winter season. Now we can deduce this using Coriolis force. We know that Coriolis force is clockwise in northern hemisphere during summer, and it is anti-clockwise in the southern hemisphere during summer. So clockwise during the summer, Coriolis force is clockwise in northern hemisphere and anti-clockwise in southern hemisphere. So with this knowledge we can tell that Indian Ocean gyre in the North Indian Ocean flows anti-clockwise in winter season. In North Indian Ocean, the Coriolis force or the Indian Ocean gyre, it will be clockwise in the summer and not in the winter. So if we know the direction of movement as to how it varies of Coriolis force, then even we can deduce ocean gyres, because Coriolis force is mainly responsible for ocean gyres. With reference to global atmospheric circulation, doldrums, horse latitudes, temperate low pressure belts. Okay, in this question, one thing which I wanted to highlight is temperate low pressure belts are region characterized by absence of cyclonic activity. You know that there are temperate cyclones that are happening. So in this question, suppose you are not aware what the doldrums are, or if you are not aware of what horse latitudes are, though I recommend this is what you should know. But if you are not aware of one, no problem, come to second statement. If you know partially about second statement, it's fine, come to third statement. Temperate low pressure belts are region characterized by absence of cyclonic activity. if you had eliminated 3, you would have got the answer. Similarly, question number 87, in this question, question is meant to be left if you do not know about the islands. All these mountains, they are volcanic mountains, and in recent times they have undergone eruption. That is why it was in news, and it has been asked in the test paper. So, Indonesia, Philippines, Morocco, and here we do not have 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2 sort of options. So, either you should know at least 2 of them to take a guesswork. If you are not aware of any of this, or if you are aware of only one, such as Indonesia is from Merapi, Mount Indonesia is located in Merapi. Suppose even if you are aware of this, but still it becomes difficult for you to take a guess, because it could be 1, 2 or still 3. You will still be left with 3 options. So it is better meant to be left. Atacama Desert, how are they formed? Here one thing which I would like to tell is, which are the different kinds of desert? Cold desert, warm deserts, where are they formed, where are they located, and what are the reasons for its formation? This is basics which we need to do. So Atacama Desert, how is it influenced? What leads to its desiccation effect? These are the things which you need to know about, and this is basics. I'll leave it to you. With reference to agricultural soil, again, what kind of soil contains what kind of content? So this is again basic, and what will be the impact of soil because of external things. So again, India's atmosphere originally contained high levels of methane and ammonia, which were later replaced by. This is an easy question, but one thing which I wanted to highlight here is, see, Earth's atmosphere originally contained high levels of methane and ammonia, which were later replaced by nitrogen and oxygen. One thing which might confuse aspirant is, we know that oxygen came later. We did not have oxygen at the beginning. We had things like hydrogen, we had things like helium. We will know 1 or 2 things, and even methane, but we may not know about ammonia or some other gas which they might bring in this sort of question. So Earth's atmosphere originally contained high levels of this, which were later replaced by nitrogen, oxygen. Difference between how it could be asked in test series and how the UPSC could actually ask it. If UPSC had to give a trap, then they would bring in oxygen that initially it contained high level of oxygen, so that aspirant is able to completely eliminate it. Or it would try to bring in that element such as hydrogen or helium, which we would commonly know that initially there were hydrogen and helium. It wouldn't try to bring some gas which you are not aware, like ammonia. But this commonly happens when we see this institute paper. Next, plate tectonics, which involve the movement of Earth's lithospheric plates, began shortly after the Earth formed. So even here, the question could have been formed, or the sentence could be framed little better, that plate tectonics, which involve the movement, began immediately after Earth's formation. So then we could have taken a better guess that it did not form immediately as the Earth was formed. It took a little while. But to refer to the same, they are telling began shortly. When we listen to began shortly, we feel like it's correct, and we tend to take the statement as correct, but it is wrong. So that is how the formation of sentence matters a lot. Began shortly, immediately, quickly. So this is how it could mean. Or to make the statement correct, they could have even said plate tectonics began after Earth formed. If the statement was plate tectonics began after the Earth formed, then the statement would be correct. But here it is telling began shortly. So in a very short period of time, it began. That is what is being said in the statement, and that makes the statement wrong. Ozone layer, which protects the Earth from harmful UV, formed after the accumulation of oxygen. You know ozone is O3, so you need oxygen. So you know this is correct. So 3 is correct, 2 is wrong. So 2 is wrong, 3 is correct. Answer would be B. Similarly, question number 91, in the Arctic and Antarctic region, cyclones are extremely rare. What is the primary reason for this? In these questions, be careful, because they are not asking you the reason. Had they asked the reason, maybe the options would be multiple. The statements answer to the question would be multiple statements. But here telling primary reason, that means there is only one option. Arctic Antarctic region, cyclones. Primary reason, sea surface temperature is too cold. Sea surface temperature are too cold. Okay. Lack of atmospheric instability. Okay. Coriolis force is too strong. Okay. Absence of moisture. if you look at this question, if the question is what are the reasons for the low formation of cyclones, then sea surface temperature are cold, this is also correct. Lack of atmospheric instability, this is also correct, or absence of moisture in the atmosphere, this is also correct. But the primary reason, the main reason which is responsible, see, the sea surface temperature, if it is cold, that means evaporation will not be favored. If evaporation is not being favored, then it means that atmospheric instability condition does not arise, because only if there is low pressure region with vapors moving upwards, if there is low pressure region and the vapors are moving upwards, then it creates the atmospheric instability condition. So first the sea surface temperature should be warm, and then the atmospheric instability condition will occur. And absence of moisture in the atmosphere, like I said, first what you need is the sea surface temperature to be warm. Only if this is there, then the instability condition will happen and the air will move upward. And when the air moves upwards, if there is moisture, then the cyclone will occur. So instability and absence of moisture are secondary factors. Sea surface temperature being too cold is the primary reason. So this is a bit tricky question. Region has distinct wet and dry season. So another thing which I want to mention is you need to know the characteristics of each of this region. What are the characteristics of savanna? What are the characteristics of tropical grassland, temperate grassland, taiga, Mediterranean, deciduous forest, evergreen forest, rainforest? Because many times they give you the characteristics and ask you to guess the option. In the same way, even in environment they try to ask things like, they will give the characteristics of a national park or a wildlife sanctuary, such as the people living there, such as the tribes living there, the animals living there, the endangered species living there, and they'll ask you to guess the national park or wildlife sanctuary. This is a similar type of thing. Here the answer is simple. The answer is savanna, because it is a grassland with scattered trees with distinct dry and wet season. Next question with reference to green hydrogen. Like I said, overall the paper is static. There are around close to 90 questions which have been asked from geography static part, and there are around 8 to 10 current affairs question. Let us see if there is any guesswork that we can do in this part. With reference to the green hydrogen certificate scheme, if you are aware, if you have gone through this current affairs question, you would have studied, you would have answered. So in that case, I need not tell anything. But suppose if you are not aware of this part, then what you could have done? Let us see. Green hydrogen is getting certification. Yes, we are promoting clean energy. We want green hydrogen so that we are able to meet a net zero targets and all those things. So certification scheme. So green hydrogen is been produced and certification is been provided to promote it and to show its genuineness. So it provides a guarantee of origin from a hydrogen produced exclusively from renewable. When we are speaking of green hydrogen itself means that it is exclusively produced from renewable energy. If it was produced from other energy, then there are different types like pink hydrogen, yellow hydrogen, black hydrogen, grey hydrogen, those sort of things. So this is correct, and this is very generic. Yes, there is some certification, and we are providing it a guarantee of origin. So next, certification under this is voluntary for domestic producers, but mandatory for units. When these sort of statement comes, be very careful to see if voluntary and mandatory are being interchanged, or if it's mandatory or voluntary to both the entities. So here certification under this is voluntary for domestic producers, but mandatory for units producing green hydrogen exclusively for export. So whatever we are exporting, it is telling for our exports, it is mandatory that we use green hydrogen for our production. Just think that India needs to promote its export, and if we use green hydrogen, then the cost of production is going to go high, because green hydrogen is based upon electrolysis, and that itself is a very costly process. So if we are using green hydrogen for energy usage to promote for our exports, then our export becomes more expensive. So it becomes a very good disincentive to promote our exports. So it is mandatory for exports. There is less chances that they make it mandatory. Rather, they could make it mandatory for domestic producers to start from domestic and then move to export at a later time. So even if we did not knew about voluntary, we could have thought that we do not want our exports to be costly. Instead, we should work for cost effectiveness. So that is not something which should be mandatory for this, and you could have got it as considered as wrong. Because like I said, statement 1 is correct. So when statement 1 is correct, B and D will be eliminated. Either it is A or C. So based on that, you can take your guess. Next again, red crowned roof turtle. There are so many species. Even in turtles, there are so many critically endangered, vulnerable species. I personally wouldn't suggest to read each and every one of those. Only those 2 to 3 turtle species which are very important. The critically endangered one, the ones which are present in India, and the ones which would be in news currently. So these are the turtles which we need to know. Or else the biodiversity species itself, we can study 200 to 300 species. Next, with reference to Special 301 report. One report and India's inclusion is for someone who has not come across Special 301 report. Let's see how they could have answered the question. Special report 301. Special 301 report is prepared under the provisions of US Trade Act to assess the adequacy and effectiveness of IPR protection. So it is telling that it wants to promote its IPR protection, and that is why this report and watch list has been done. Countries placed in this are considered to have more serious deficiencies in IPR protection that warrant immediate bilateral engagement, that affects its bilateral engagement. Okay. Inclusion of priority watch list automatically attracts punitive trade sanction and withdrawal of tariff concession. Okay. The Special 301 report is published by Office of United States Trade Representative and often influences bilateral trade. Again, the same thing, bilateral trade negotiation, it has been impacting. Here also immediate bilateral engagement, same thing. This is not a very obscure topic, this is a very common topic. And generally we tend to come across the Special 301 report. US has kept India in the Special 301 report because there are certain issues with respect to the IPR ecosystem in India, such as there is evergreening and there is compulsory licensing, because of which the IPR rating of India is not that good, and US has kept India under the watch list. If we knew that US has kept India under the watch list, then we could have said that inclusion in IPR watch list automatically attracts sanctions by the United States. Then we can tell this is wrong, because this is one of the watch lists through which US keeps a watch over the countries. It doesn't mean that it is directly putting some sort of tariff concession. And India has been on the watch list for a very long period of time, and it has not attracted concession. If we knew this, 3 would be eliminated, and if we had eliminated 3, the answer would directly be there. Or even if we do not know about what the priority watch list is, first one seems to be generic, that it is kept, that it is promoting the effectiveness. The second one tells that it will affect the bilateral negotiation. Same thing the fourth one is telling, but third one is telling that it will attract sanction. It is a little bit drastic compared to the other 3 options. So in that sense also, even if you did not know anything, you could have either gone with 1, 2, 3, 4, or you could have felt that 3 is little bit extreme. Let me go with 1 to 4. Question number 95, question number 96. Deputy Speaker Lok Sabha, basic polity thing, you will manage it. With reference to Aim for Nature initiative, every year there is so many initiatives with respect to environment that have been taking place. If you go on making notes for the initiatives, it will be 30, 40, 50, 60, any number of initiatives, and for each of those initiatives there will be multiple bodies, 3, 4 bodies. So the best thing that we could do is, if it is very important climate initiative, then we can focus on it. Maybe we can try to remember 2 or 3 initiatives which are very important. Other than that, we can see PYQ pattern. We can see PYQ pattern and see if there is any traps given. Like earlier during 2017, 2019, whatever the initiatives used to be there, the initiative launched by the bodies, that used to be wrong. So the bodies used to be wrong. But then there came a time when the bodies which launched the initiative are also correct. So we need to be careful. So if we do not know about this, then this was a question that need to be skipped. Similarly, this is a core question, RNA saline silencing and cucumber mosaic virus. If you knew about this, you could have attempted, or else it was better to be skipped. because in science and tech if you have options such as application, then we could have gone with all of the above, but in these sort of things we have to be very careful. With respect to Bandar Abbas, it is not much of a trick, but Bandar Abbas is located in northern coast of Strait of Hormuz. Now, like I said, straits, isthmus, these are physical geography part. We need to do it with the world mapping. It is located on northern coast of Strait of Hormuz. Second statement, it lies on coast of Caspian Sea. So, statement 1 and statement 2 are contradicting each other. Even if you do not know where Bandar Abbas is, either Bandar Abbas will be near Strait of Hormuz or it will be near Caspian Sea. Because there is Iran which is separating Caspian Sea and which is separating the Persian Gulf PG, and there is Iran which is separating the Caspian Sea and Gulf of Oman, and here is somewhere Persian Gulf PG, and these two are being separated by Strait of Hormuz. So you know that either statement 1 is correct or statement 2 is correct. So in this case both will not be the case. So when they give such sort of statement, either one of them will be correct. So in that sense you can tell this also. So you can take 50-50 guess, but if you are aware, you will know that Bandar Abbas. So even other way of thinking is Abbas, seems like a Islamic word. So where does the Islamic countries come? Where are the Islamic countries located by? Strait of Hormuz, Iran, Iraq, all these regions come here. So in that sense also you could have guessed that it is Strait of Hormuz and not Central Asia or the Caspian Sea. Question number 100, chlorophyrus and international conventions. Even this is a question that is meant to be left because it is going deeper and we are not aware of any of this, and it is very difficult to make guesswork because it is telling it is currently listed in Annex 3 of Rotterdam. It could be Annex 1 also, Annex 2 also, and chloropyrifos, it's a very technical term which we may not remember or come across. So this question was meant to be left. So briefly, if I had to summarize this entire session, see, there were around 70 questions, or there were around 65 to 70 questions which were easy or which were from the book. The 65 to 70 questions which were from the book. There were around 15 to 20 questions which was testing your understanding because of multiple statements, that what are the factors which could lead to ocean acidification, what are the factors that could lead to so and so eutrophication, which could lead to soil erosion, so many things. So to test your conceptual understanding, there were 15 to 20 questions. So in these easy questions, we should try to get most of them correct. At least we should try to get with 80% accuracy. That is what I am telling. If you have your basics right, if you have your NCERT properly in your mind and the concepts clear, then it becomes easy. In this 50 to 20 question, we cannot get all the questions correct because there will be one or the other statement which we might interpret it wrong because the way they have said it. Like I said, completely, occasionally, all these change the meaning of the sentence. So in this, even if we have like 60% or 70% accuracy, it becomes good. Then there are certain questions which I can say there were 10 to 15 questions which were meant to be skipped. In upcoming sessions, even if the question is tough, we'll see how we could have answered it, but I do not want to do it in the earlier sessions because then people start skipping the important part of the syllabus and start doing their Tuka work every time. So I'd like to wind this class. Thank you.